So most of you out there will have a app on your phone that you probably type your scores in, and it maybe shows you what the layout of the golf course, that type of thing. Now, with these apps that are specifically scoring or course planners, they will tend to also throw in some stats at the end of it. So you'll probably get things like fairways hit. You might get left and right on approach shots. You might have up and downs. You'll probably have number of putts. Problem is, with most of these numbers on their own are completely useless. You need a bit more detail, and you probably need to be recording other numbers as well. So it doesn't have to be too heavy. If you've got a gadget, the Arcos or one of these things that does it for you, or the My Round Pro from TaylorMade, which is free, which I like, which you can type in during or after the round. If you haven't got one of those, but you want to get some realistic numbers, watch for the next few minutes. Here's what you should be recording. So let's start with tee shots. And you're probably thinking, I'll record how many fairways I hit. So yes, hitting fairways is important, but it can be a bit misleading. What if this happens? I've hit the fairway, a little bit skied that one, and I've only hit it about 80 yards, and I've still got 270 yards to go. So yes, I've hit a fairway, but it's not that far down there. It's much better to record distance off the tee and penalty shots. With penalty shots, at least you can see if the driver or whatever club you're using to tee off with is getting you in trouble. And distance off the tee is important. That is almost a penalty shot. It's certainly losing a lot of strokes for those that use and understand strokes gained. I've hit my driver 80, 90 yards. I've got a long way to go. And if you're one of these people that hits a lot of fairways with a safe 4-iron, 5-iron, hitting it 50 yards further in the rough is going to be equal to or slightly better to how close you're hitting next shot. The closer you get the ball to the flag, the closer your next shot's going to be. And generally, a rough rule, certainly true on the PGA Tour, 50 yards further forward in the rough is better than 50 yards back on the fairway. Plus, there's no such thing as a safe 4-iron. They're not that easy to hit. Okay, so short par 4, just hit a big drive down here, about 50 yards, 60 maybe into the flag. Let's see a shot. So yes, I've hit the green in regulation, but I was only 50 yards away. I left myself about 40-foot putt. Now, depending on your level, but for a lot of you that are mid to lower handicappers, that's going to be too far away on average to gain any strokes. And again, if you're not familiar on strokes gained, you need to look this up because it's the only real way of measuring your performance. And as good as stat is as green in regulation for measuring how well you do, because the more greens you hit, the lower your score is going to be. In fact, you could say it is the best stat for determining how low your score will be. But it's so closely correlated to a lower score, it's almost irrelevant. We know if you hit more greens, you're going to have a lower score. Then it's a little bit misleading in itself because, yes, I've hit a green, but like I say, I'm 40 foot away. Now, for a tour player, they're averaging over 2 putts from this distance. So you need to measure proximity on and off the green. So 50 yards away, I've left myself 40 foot. I'm going to be losing strokes and I've got a long way to go to the hole. So green regulations, yes, you need to measure that, but it can't be on its own. It's got to be proximity based. If you're missing greens on your approach shot, something else to measure could also be being near the green. So I would call that within 20 yards, because at least then you've got a rough idea of, okay, I have missed the green, but I'm not too far away. But even that in itself can be misleading, because I've missed the green here. This is on the fringe, but missing the green here and missing the green short-sided the other side are two very different misses. But approach shots at least get proximity. If you are collecting green in regulation, that's fine, but you need proximity as well. So when you miss a green or you're around the green, up and down or par save, isn't a bad stat to keep. But again, without proximity, it doesn't mean anything. And even if you know how far you are away from the flag, I would rather be further away down there on the fairway with more green to work with, hitting like a 9-iron, than I would be short-sided, over an obstacle, going a bit downhill. And if I didn't tee it up for the demo, this could be a bad lie. So All this data's out there from the rough, from the bunker, from the fairway, for every distance, for every handicap. Go and find it. Ask me for it if you want. I'll show you it. And then you know how close you should be getting for your handicap from any position on the golf course. Then you know what you can be working on. Let's have a little chip from here. And we'll try a putt. So I've just one putted that green. However, if I did that 18 times from 1 or 2 foot, I'd have 18 putts for the round. And this is my least favourite, most useless stat. Number of putts. As you can see there, 1 or 2 foot away, probably going to hold that all the time. 18 putts per round, woohoo, looks good on the stats or the scorecard. Doesn't mean you putted well. Without proximity on your putts, pointless number to keep. Doesn't show you how well you putted. What you need is distance of first putt, number of putts to the hole, and there's a lot of apps out there, there's a lot of websites out there, especially for putting, that will give you how well you're doing for your handicap, how many strokes you gained or lost on that distance of putt. So yeah, the number of putts on its own just winds me up. Oh, I hear it in the clubhouse all the time. I had 22 putts today. So it doesn't matter. And likewise, where you might be 1 inch away for every single putt and you hole 18 of them, if you're 50 foot away and you 3 putt every hole, it's actually not bad. So you're going to come up with a massive number of putts, as a single number. But knowing that you are 50 foot away or more each hole, 3 putts per hole isn't disastrous. Depend on your handicap. You might throw in a couple of 2 putts in there as well. So you need more than just number of putts, even footage, like how far did you hole your final putt? Well, if you have a 3 footer and you knock it 5 foot past and you hold that one coming back, all right, well done, you've held it from 5 foot, but you've missed from 3 foot. Another number that's not great. So one thing you can also recall that I don't think I mentioned while on the golf course is where I skied the driver and had a massive approach in. It's pretty much not reachable. So I didn't have a green in regulation chance. So you can also start marking that on your scorecard. Did you have a green in regulation chance? No. Well, why not? Was the driver in trouble? Was there a penalty? And did it not go far enough, which can often be the case, again, depending on your handicap and how far you hit the ball. So you need realistic numbers, you need appropriate numbers for anybody that doesn't know strokes gained. That's what Google's for. Or you can come and ask me, I'll explain it if I haven't done that in another video somewhere. Check out Instagram, which I'm sure I have. So I hope that helped. If you want to improve, you need these numbers. Otherwise, you're just guessing where you're struggling. And like I say, if you've got certain numbers, they might not be the right ones.